Let's talk about yet another suspicious Russian death. We recently did a story about Russian opposition journalist Vladimir Kara-Murza being poisoned. And we also ran down really a stunningly long list of other Russian dissidents who were killed under very weird and suspicious circumstances. And we were alluding to the possibility that all or most of them had not been sort of accidental deaths, and there may have been a relationship between their political views and the Putin government, okay? We've now learned that on U.S. Election Day, Sergei Krivov, an employee of the Russian Consulate in New York City, was found dead at his office with blunt trauma head injuries, and his name is just now surfacing for the first time. We're only now learning about this, which is also part of why it is raising the eyebrows of many people. And other consulate employees had originally said that he died from jumping off the roof of the building. But by the time that emergency responders and journalists showed up, the employees said, oh, he died from a heart attack. So the story had sort of changed, at least potentially. The Kremlin is maintaining that he did die of a heart attack. And I guess the idea is, and what the NYPD said, was that he had a heart attack on the roof and fell off the building because of the heart attack, and that's what it is that happened. The NYPD, which is weird in and of itself, the NYPD then closed the case before getting results from the medical examiner, declaring it a natural death, which is less than common. Usually they wait to get more information from the medical examiner, but again, by itself, not necessarily indicative of anything. The body was released the day after his death to an undisclosed recipient. The medical examiner no longer has the body. All right, that's sort of a little odd, but again, we're talking about, a Russian employee, and there may be reasons why that took place. By itself, not indicative of anything in particular. No funeral home in the area has a record of him, but again, okay, we're talking about a Russian individual here. Maybe his remains were sent back to Russia for the funeral. By itself, not indicative of anything, but we've got kind of a growing list of weird circumstances here, don't we?
You add it all up, it gets very suspicious. And I mean, it's especially troubling because we've talked a lot about these mysterious Russian deaths.
Yeah.
But if this one actually occurred in the United States, in New York City on Election Day, where both campaign headquarters were, and there were probably a ton of security, I mean, it's just very interesting.
And it gets even more interesting. Aeroflot, the only airline with direct flights between New York City and Moscow, would not say whether or not they had flown the body back to Russia. Why would they take anything other than a direct flight? The only direct flights available on Aeroflot, but they wouldn't say. Again, by itself, maybe it's just their policy, they don't comment, etc. BuzzFeed requested an incident report from the New York Police Department, and the New York Police Department denied it, saying you didn't include the date, precinct, and location of death. But BuzzFeed's request, they've published it, did include all of those things, and experts and former police officers are saying NYPD almost never withholds these reports from the public. So this is also sort of odd. And a government transparency expert told BuzzFeed the incident report, after an investigation is closed, typically that is releasable. It's really weird that they would categorically state that it was rejected. Incident reports are not broadly exempt from public records laws. His name wasn't even released by police until this week, which is why I'm telling you about it now rather than 3 months ago when it happened. State Department and FBI asked to comment. They've declined. Russian media says that he was in charge of relaying secret messages to and from Russia. No one with his name shows up in any public New York City records indicating that he lived there. His residence address listed on his New York City death report doesn't exist. Of course, it doesn't help that the Russian federal government is usually involved in investigating things like this, but a dozen or so, Pat, weird individual little tidbits that by themselves don't really mean anything, but altogether, another weird situation.
And you'd like to hope that our intelligence agencies and entities like the State Department and the New York City Police Department are withholding information because it's part of a larger investigation.
Yeah.
But there's no way to know for sure at this point.
They could say that. Somebody could at some point say, this may be related to an ongoing investigation. Of course, we've heard from the FBI, they don't comment on ongoing investigations, unless, of course, your name's Hillary Clinton and it's like a month before the election. In that case, then you can get 2 letters and a press conference about an ongoing investigation, or even an investigation that's been closed, which is actually even weirder. Discuss this with us on Reddit, davidpakman.com/REDDIT, heading towards 3,000 different viewers and listeners on our Reddit discussion forum. I hope you'll join us there.
GameFly is sort of like Netflix for video games. They have over 8,000 new and classic games for Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS4, PS3, Wii, and a bunch of other platforms. And you can play as many games as you want for one monthly fee. And if you find some games you want to keep, you can buy them for a low used price. There's never any due dates or late fees. And our audience can get a free 30-day trial at gameflyoffer.com/TDPS. The games are shipped directly to you with return envelopes included. There's no contracts, and you can rent games through the mobile app. Get the free 30-day trial for the David Pakman Show audience and support our show by going to gameflyoffer.com/TDPS.